From a golf pro who almost died on the course, to getting attacked by jumping cactuses, these are the 10 weirdest moments in golf history. And first, we start at number 10. This story will make you think twice about who you trust with your precious trophy. Now, it's 1996, and Tom Lehman has just won the Open Championship, one of golf's most prestigious tournaments. The prize? The legendary Claret Jug. Now, this isn't just any trophy. This is the trophy in golf, the one everyone dreams about lifting. But what happens next? Well, it gets wild. Lehman takes his precious Claret Jug to a charity dinner in Minneapolis. Seems innocent enough, right? Wrong. While he's busy signing autographs, his wife, Melissa, hands the trophy over to Alyssa Heron, the sister of pro golfer Tim Heron, for safekeeping. But for Alyssa, safekeeping doesn't mean the same thing as it does for the rest of us. So, she decides to take it on a bar crawl. Alyssa and her friends decide to turn this prestigious piece of golf history into their personal party accessory. They're hopping from bar to bar, showing off the trophy like it's some kind of fancy beer mug. It gets so crazy that at one point, they walk into Britt's pub in Minneapolis and jokingly tell the manager they've stolen it. So, finally, the manager calls the police. But the best part? When they called Lehman at 2 a.m. to verify the story, he was just like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. I know her." And so, it all stays among friends and family. Moving on to number 9, we've got what might be the most creative or desperate job posting in golf history. Now, have you ever thought about becoming a caddy for a pro golfer? Well, in 2005, someone actually bought that opportunity on eBay. That year, Australian golfer David Diaz needed a caddy for the Open at St. Andrews. But keep in mind that this wasn't just any tournament. This was the year Jack Nicklaus was saying goodbye to professional golf. It was kind of a big deal. So, usually if you're a pro and needing a caddy, you look within the circle of pros, your colleagues or golf peers, right? But if you're David Diaz, where do you look? Exactly. You avoid traditional channels and go straight to put the job up for auction on eBay. So, who won this bizarre auction? A London banker named Stephen Bridle, who went by the username Looperboy. Just a funny detail. He shelled out over $20,000 for the privilege. That's right, 20 grand to carry someone else's golf clubs. Diaz was so committed to making this work that he actually paid a professional caddy £90 to teach Bridle the ropes during a practice round. This London banker must have thought he hit the jackpot, getting to walk those legendary St. Andrews fairways. Unfortunately, this tale didn't have quite the happy ending everyone hoped for. Diaz missed the cut, making it probably the most expensive 2 days of golf spectating ever. Next up, number 8, which brings us the Aquaman moment. Remember Woody Austin, the angry guy who hits himself in the head with golf clubs? Well, in 2007, during the President's Cup, he gave us one of golf's most memorable water features. And I'm not talking about the course design. So, what happened? Austin is playing in his first and only President's Cup at Royal Montreal. He's in a 4-ball match with David Toms against Trevor Immelman and Rory Sabatini. They get to the 14th hole, and Austin's ball ends up in a water hazard. Now, most golfers would take a penalty and move on. But not Woody. Oh no, he decides he's going to hit it out of the water. He sets up for the shot, takes his swing, and then he loses his balance and face plants right into the pond. We're talking full head submersion here. But that's not bad, at least not entirely. He actually made 8 birdies that day and helped his team tie the match. But do you think anyone remembers that? Nope. All they remember is the splash. So here we are at number 7, where we learn that even the best players can have trouble with basic math. The year is 2001, and Ian Woosnam, who'd won his only major a decade earlier, is in contention at the Open Championship. He starts his final round absolutely on fire. First hole, nearly makes a hole-in-one and taps in for birdie. He's now tied for the lead and looking like he might add another major to his resume. But then, it happens. As he walks to the second tee, his caddy, Miles Byrne, suddenly goes pale. He's just realized something that's about to turn their dream start into a nightmare. "Ian," he says, "we've got a problem. We've got 15 clubs in the bag." Now, for those who don't know, the rules of golf clearly state you can only have 14 clubs. He was so furious, he grabbed the extra wood and threw it across the tee in disgust. But the penalty? 2 strokes per hole, with a maximum of 4 strokes. Since they discovered it after playing 1 hole, that meant 2 penalty strokes. Just like that, Woozy's beautiful birdie turns into a devastating bogey. And the more painful part? He finished tied for third place, just 4 strokes behind the winner David Duval. Sure, the penalty didn't overtake David's final result, but it makes you think, what if that momentum hadn't been broken by the club fiasco? I guess we'll never know. It's time for number 6. The 1999 Open at Carnoustie gave us what might be the most spectacular meltdown in golf history. Let me paint the picture. Van de Velde is leading by 3 shots going to the final hole. He just needs a double bogey 6 to become the first French winner of the Open since 1907. That's right, he could take twice the number of shots par requires and still win. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. Absolutely everything. First, instead of playing it safe with an iron off the tee, Van de Velde pulls out his driver. Why? Nobody knows. His tee shot barely cleared the berry burn and ends up in the rough. Okay, not ideal, but still no problem, right? Just lay up, wedge it on, 2-putt for your double bogey and collect the Claret Jug. But no, that would be too simple. Instead, Van de Velde decides to go for the green with a 2-iron. The ball hits the grandstand railing, bounces off a stone wall, and ends up in thick rough. Still technically salvageable, but then he chunks his next shot right into the berry burn. And this is where things get truly bizarre. Van de Velde, now clearly having lost all sense of reality, takes off his shoes and socks, rolls up his pants, and wades into the water. He's actually considering hitting the ball out of the burn. The entire golf world is watching this French golfer strip down on live TV, standing ankle-deep in Scottish Creek water, contemplating what would surely be the most ill-advised shot in golf history. Thankfully, after what feels like an eternity, he comes to his senses and takes a drop. But by now, the damage is done. He makes a triple bogey 7, falling into a 3-way playoff, which he ultimately loses to Paul Lawrie. So, what should have been a historic victory for French golf turned into one of the sport's most infamous disasters ever. Breaking into the top 5, and we're going all the way back to 2003 for this one, to what might be the most devastating bunker disaster in golf history. Thomas Bjorn at the Open. It's the final round at Royal St. George's, and Bjorn is in prime position to claim his first major title. He's leading by 2 shots with just 3 holes left to play. The Claret Jug is practically in his hands, until dark clouds came his way. Bjorn's tee shot on the par 3 16th lands in a greenside bunker. No big deal, right? A routine bunker shot for someone of Bjorn's caliber. He's done this thousands of times. But then, his first attempt rolls right back to his feet. The wind blows sand in his eyes, making things even worse. He steps up for a second try, but this time the ball plugs in his own footprints, sinking deeper into the sand. Everyone watching is in complete shock. How could this be happening? By the time he finally gets out of the bunker, the damage is done. His 2-shot lead has vanished, and with it, his chances of winning the Open. He never recovers, and Ben Curtis, an unheralded American, swoops in to claim the title. More than halfway through at number 4, we've got something that'll make you buzz with excitement. Literally. It's the 2023 Mexico Open. Everything's going smooth. When suddenly, bees. Not just a few bees, we're talking about an entire swarm that decided to crash the party. Eric Van Rooyen was just standing there, getting ready for his approach shot at Vidanta Vallarta. Everything seems normal when, out of nowhere, and I mean absolutely nowhere, this massive swarm of bees just shows up and all hell breaks loose. You know it's bad when you can literally hear someone in the background just repeatedly saying, bees, 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 bees. And then, professional golfers diving for cover, cameramen running away, everyone hitting the deck like they were in some kind of military training exercise. The announcers called it a fog of bees that just blew through the area. Amazingly, nobody got stung. Get ready for our top 3. We've got what might be the strangest putting stance ever seen in professional golf. In 2012, Michelle Wie decided conventional putting was too boring and introduced what she called the tabletop stance. Imagine you're watching golf. Everything's normal, and then suddenly you see a professional golfer bend over until they're practically parallel to the ground, like completely horizontal. That's exactly what Michelle Wie did, and she didn't just do it once. She made it her signature move. People thought she'd lost her mind. But here's the crazy part. It actually worked. She skyrocketed in the rankings, jumping from 119th to 4th, and even won the US Women's Open while looking like she was trying to smell the green. Sometimes the weirdest solutions are the best ones, I guess. Sliding in at number 2. So here we are, watching Rory McIlroy tee off. It is an absolutely scorching day in the desert, and Rory McIlroy found himself in a real mess. His ball was wedged right up against a rock, one of those impossible lies where you can't move the obstacle without the ball rolling. Rory stood there deep in thought, eyeing the situation. He couldn't afford to drop a shot, and moving the rock was out of the question. And then in a bold move, Rory decided he would hit both the ball and the rock together. He lines up his shot, the crowd is dead silent, and everyone's wondering what's about to go down. With a mighty swing, the club connected with the rock and ball, sending both flying in different directions. The ball rockets into the crowd like a heat-seeking missile. Before anyone knows what's happening, it strikes a guy dead on, knocking him off his feet. He stumbled backward, and in the worst luck imaginable, he crashed straight into a towering cactus. But not just any cactus, these were the infamous jumping cholas, the ones that latch onto anything they touch, making it look like they leap at you. The poor guy's covered in big, horrifying chunks of cactus, stuck all over him, and the crowd can't believe what they're seeing. Rory rushes over, mortified, apologizing profusely, but the damage is done. The man is practically wrapped in spines, and people scramble to help pull the jumping cholas off him. And here we are, the big number one. But before we show you probably the most anxious moment when a player may have died on the course, please subscribe. It's like getting a free drop, and it helps us create this content for you. So, during the Maybank Malaysian Open in 2014, Pablo Larrazabal faced one of the most terrifying moments of his career. It started off like any other round of golf. He was playing well, completely focused on the game. But then, something strange happened on the fifth hole. The air suddenly seemed thicker, and out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something swarming around him. A swarm of massive hornets, 3 times the size of bees, suddenly attacked him. About 30 to 40 hornets descended on him, and in panic, his caddy yelled for him to run. But the hornets wouldn't let up. Fellow players shouted for him to jump into the water hazard, and without hesitation, Pablo threw down his scorecard, ripped off his shoes, and dived into the lake. Reflecting on the incident later, Pablo revealed that the hornets sprayed pheromones on him, attracting more of the swarm. He was stung more than 20 times on the back of his neck, but his hat saved him from even more stings. He confessed, "If I didn't have a hat, I would be dead." Thanks to quick thinking and the advice of Bular's caddy, Pablo avoided what could have been a life-threatening situation. Oh, before you go, we have another great video waiting for you in the middle of the screen.